It's evening on my third day of exploring the Noosa Everglades in the upper reaches of the Noosa River in southeast Queensland. Earlier today I walked about 18 kilometres to the top of the coastal dunes that separate the river from the Cooloola coast and the Coral Sea. Reaching the top was a fair stretch for me with my quad bike path, but I was rewarded with sweeping views of the Cooloola coast to the east and the Noosa Basin to my west, which includes Lake Cootharaba and Lake Cootharaba. I'm rowing downstream to find somewhere to tie up to the riverbank where I can set up camp on board Moonlight for the night. The moon is waxing gibbous, laid on its back and providing some of the light that I need to get set up once tying off on a couple of fallen trees projecting out into the river. Fortunately, there's no rain forecast overnight, so I'm able to sling the fly sheet off my tent over the boom as a makeshift boom tent. Nevertheless, I have my bilge pump handy in case of an unexpected tropical downpour that could literally sink the boat. It's just after first light, which happens at around 4:30 in these parts. It's really hard to lie in bed and resist the sound of the birds and the occasional fish leaping out of the water to grab one of those mozzies that was attacking me last night. This section of the river is affected very little by the tide. The level remains fairly constant and there are virtually no currents in either direction to contend with, which makes it possible to tie up to the shore and sleep with confidence that you're going to be in the same place in the morning. The upper reaches of the Noosa River are reserved for rowboats, actually for kayaks. So there's a number of different camps on the way up there. Goes up to number 15, but they skip a few because some are way out in the wilderness. But no engines, which is lovely. Normally on a river like this, about this time of day, all you hear is sound of jet skis and motorboats. Nothing except for the birds and the sound of the paddles dipping into the water. Possibly a few creaks and groans from my protesting back.
I love the rig on this boat. The spars were crafted by my mentor and master boat builder John Philp over 75 years ago. They were originally installed on the clinker boat that inspired me to build Moonlight. There's a video on the channel about the building of Moonlight that you can easily find by subscribing. I was fortunate to get hold of the spars when the centre case was removed from John's boat and it could no longer be sailed. I also acquired the original centreboard at that time. John built the original from King Billy pine, making it much lighter than Moonlight, which is of Huon pine. The rig on Moonlight is a sliding gunter. It differs from the gaff rig, having 3 sides to the sail rather than 4. I've recently replaced all the lashings and lines and have yet to perfect them, but they're a big improvement on what I had for the first 40 years. This dinghy camping trip is a fitting celebration of the first 40 years of sailing Moonlight after launching her into the Tewantin Dam in Tasmania on September the 11th, 1980. I always feel compelled to return her to her true home in Tasmania, and eventually I will.
Slept all night on a big white ship. Seagulls were dancing all around. I woke up with a sunrise on the sea. Such a priceless gift to me. The salty breeze and the waves, the slow pace. The salty breeze and the waves. I'm at a right place.
The Everglades is a wetland region in Florida, about 15,000 square kilometres in size. It's bisected by a slow-flowing river that drains the river basin. Here, in the upper reaches of the Noosa River, we have a similar topography, and the river is bounded by long grasses like the Everglades. But the area is quite small by comparison. Nevertheless, it is beautiful and unique in its own right.
Salty breeze in my lungs.
visitor centre, the island that we came round the wrong side of and sailed through about a foot of water, touched the bottom a few times and just snuck through without embarrassing ourselves. And round here you see Mount Karoy, I think it is, and Barine Point. There's a marker just over there. As soon as we get onto that marker we're back on the channel, although the water out here is plenty deep enough right across the whole lake in this section. Once we get past Barine Point we've got to pick up the channel markers and stick to them till we pick up the lower reaches of the Noosa River. We made it to Barine Point under sail. I thought we were going to have to stop there for a while because wind was dropping out, got up to about 10 knots and it got right out to just 2 or 3 knots. So it's picked up again and it's a steady 10 knots or so. So we've been making 3 or 4 knots all the way across. A couple little boats out sailing today. We're just running goose wing, 10 knots behind us, and pretty much lined up all the way down to the channel where it gets quite narrow down there. Quite a lot of channel markers in a fairly tight area. I think we'll be able to sail through them okay. I'm keeping a bit of an eye on some storms that are developing over in the northwest. They forecast a possibility of thunderstorms, and if that happens there'll be some squalls with them. So the wind just dropped probably about 5 knots now and it's swung around more to the east ahead of those clouds that are coming in there. And you can see starting to line up the channel down here. It's quite a narrow channel and it's quite shallow, so you've got to stay right in the middle of it. So hopefully I'll be able to sail straight through. If not, I'll have to fire up the motor. We've arrived at the channel that flows out of the southern end of Lake Cootharaba into the Noosa River. And as I said before, it's a very narrow channel and it's very shallow. So we'll have to take a dogleg to the left about halfway down there into the mouth of the river, and at that point we'll need to jibe. It doesn't look like there's a lot of wind about, so shouldn't have any problem with that. Let's see how it goes. You notice the channel markers, we've got the green ones on the left, the red ones on the right, and that's because we're heading out towards the ocean. A little bit more breeze has come in, and overtaken by Tinny right at the driving line. Again in a minute and then head round into the river. A houseboat is the perfect way to explore the river, and I'm about to get a strong appreciation for the shelter that they have on this boat. Right, just get ready for that in time. Really coming down. Here in Australia we might say, it's raining cats and dogs. In France they would say, it's raining like a pissing cow. I think the French have it on this one. In fact, it rained so hard that my engine couldn't breathe and it cut out. And it refused to start until it dried out.
To the river we go.
Fortunately, I have my trusty 40-year-old bilge pump on board. It was given to me by a friend to celebrate the day that he stopped all the leaks in his clinker dinghy. These boats are very difficult to bail with the floorboards and the ribs, but the thirsty pump makes quick and easy work of it.
I spilled my coffee, I don't feel like talking. My worries just keep growing by the day. I need a moment where the green and blue appear, to spin a rock and watch the ricochet.
I'm a bit damp, but pleased the rain held off until the final leg of the trip. I'm approaching the Tewantin boat ramp, which is where we set off from 4 days ago. My beautiful wife is there to greet me right on time and always willing to winch Moonlight out of the water. Can't ask for more than that.
To the river we go. Leave our worries on the shore and drift away. On the river we know. Sometimes the perfect words are never said. I spilled my coffee, I don't feel like talking. My worries just keep growing by the day. I need a moment where the green and blue appear, to spin a rock and watch the ricochet. To the river we go. Leave our worries on the shore and drift